Everyone's talking about the mana base being the main weakness of the Dance of the Elements precon, and everyone is right. That's why I took the deck from 5 colors to 3, turning Ashling into a Jund combo machine. I'll be walking through the main combos and going over every addition to the deck while working on a budget of only $40. Champion of the Path is the linchpin of the first combo and is an insane card in elemental decks. The combo goes a little something like this. Turn 3, play Ashling. Turn 4, play Champion of the Path. Turn 5, evoke the Frog Spirit Elemental, Yargle and Multani to deal 18 damage to every opponent. It does get sacrificed, but a hasted token copy is made thanks to Ashling for another 18 damage to the face of every opponent. 36 damage isn't technically lethal, but it is after a few turns of almost every commander game. While the champion has made its way into half of all Ashling decks on EDHREC, Yargle and Multani hasn't risen above 2% of decks, which feels criminal given the potency of this combination of cards. And while Yargle is the biggest and baddest of the elemental options, Vernal Sovereign and its tokens deal 20 damage minimum after attacks. Elemental Spectacle is a quick 25 damage with Ashling and all her 5 colors on the battlefield. Havoc Eater can rack up counters to do more damage than any other creature, and my favorite Doomgape and its mouth drop 20 damage to each opponent with 10 trample to finish things off. I've got more to say about dealing all this damage straight to the dome and more combos, but before that, please use this moment to subscribe to the channel. I do bracket 2 and 3 commander things, and I do it on a budget. Many thanks, and let's keep going. The downside of that plan is that the champion has blaring red lights, announcing to all of your opponents that it's a problem. So if it gets destroyed, there is the new plan of mass reanimation. And truthfully, this is plan A when trying to burn your opponents out. When I think of mass reanimation spells, I think Rise of the Dark Realms and Living Death. And while these are in the upgrade, you don't need every creature in your graveyard. You only need a few. But side note, the way Living Death works with Ashling's sacrifice trigger is so hot right now. Anyway, Aberrant Return is in the Blight Curse precon for obvious reasons, but 3 creatures is all you need in this deck to melt your opponent's life totals. Champion of the Path, any one of the high power creatures, and then Seething Pathblazer. The Pathblazer is unique in its free ability to sacrifice elementals. The burnout plan is better when you can double the enter triggers with Ashling, and Seething Pathblazer is how you do it from the graveyard. Or leave it out of the equation to reanimate self-sacrificing creatures alongside our champion. Nova Chaser and Supreme Exemplar need to champion an elemental when they come into play or they get sacrificed. We're gonna let them get sacrificed, and after they return, thanks to Ashling, you have officially dropped a 40 bomb to win the game. And if someone is still alive, you can champion one of those hasted tokens with the other for 10 additional flying or trample damage. 2 additional group reanimation spells you can find are Command the Dreadhorde and Behold the Sinister Six. I'm not a big Spider-Man guy, but I admit I have been angling to work Sinister Six into a deck. The last one is Push and Pull, which does the sacrificing for you. It's also done on your end step, so the tokens you make with Ashling in response actually stick around until the end of your next turn. That's pretty great if the burn doesn't win you the game on the spot. I've included in the deck a few paths to set up all of this reanimation. The main way though is playing out the precon game plan of evoking creatures with Ashling to double down on their enter triggers and smash face. I'll talk more about that later, but those creatures end up in the graveyard, which is precisely where you want them. Other than that, there is Faithless Looting and Cathartic Reunion to discard, as well as a couple of graveyard tutors. Buried Alive to grab a lethal reanimation package, and Unmarked Grave that grabs you your champion, a beefy boy, or the star of the rest of the combos, Green Warden of Marasa, who I'll be referring to as Gomez from here on out. The next combo is my favorite and starts with Ashling on the battlefield. Start by evoking Gomez, putting the evoke trigger and then the enter trigger on the stack. You can let the enter trigger fizzle or get a card back from your graveyard if you need. Maybe a Burnt Offering that you cast earlier in the game. Now with the evoke trigger still on the stack, hold priority and cast the Burnt Offering you returned or had in hand already. Sacrifice Gomez as the additional cost to add 6 black or red mana in any combination. Gomez being sacrificed triggers Ashling to make a token copy of Gomez, and when that token enters, you can return Gomez from your graveyard graveyard to your hand. You can now use 4 of the 6 floating mana to evoke Gomez yet again, but this time when it enters, you will take advantage of the enter trigger, returning Burnt Offering back to your hand. Using this loop, you'll get infinite enter, leave, sacrifice, and magecraft triggers, infinite red mana and infinite black mana, infinite storm count, and infinite Gomez tokens with haste. That should win you the game on the spot, but there are a couple of safety valves just in case an ensnaring bridge is in play. The first is Champion of the Path, which will quickly burn out the whole table. The second is Tendrils of Agony, that takes advantage of infinite storm by draining the whole table of life. I like watching the fancy vintage cube decks that can make this spell work, so I've also been angling to work Tendrils into a deck. If either of these answers are in your graveyard, the first Gomez trigger would let you bring them back to hand. If they're in your library, then a Garruk's Uprising, Elemental Bond, or Up the Beanstalk in play will let you draw all the cards that you need to find them. They'll also help you draw answers in your deck to their mandatory draw triggers that could get you in trouble. The last combo is a little more janky, but that's all part of the fun of Commander. You start with Ashling and Heartless Summoning on the battlefield, and Catalyst Elemental in your graveyard. Heartless Summoning is a cheap enchantment that halves the evoke cost on Ashling down to 2 generic mana. Your creatures also get a static -1/-1 to their power and toughness, which is a good trade even absent the combo. Catalyst Elemental is basically a ritual in the deck, costing 3 mana to get 4 when you sacrifice the original and token when Ashling is on the battlefield. With Heartless Summoning, it's only 1 mana to get 4, which is what we'll be using here. The first step is to evoke out Gomez for 2 mana, thanks to Heartless Summoning. When it enters, use its trigger to return Catalyst Elemental from your graveyard to your hand. Then the evoke trigger resolves and you sacrifice Gomez, creating a token copy with its own enter trigger that you'll use to return Gomez to your hand. Cast Catalyst Elemental for 1 red due to Heartless Summoning, and sacrifice it for 2 red. The token copy enters thanks to Ashling, and you sacrifice it again for a total now of 4 red mana. At this point, you can start again by evoking Gomez, resulting in infinite enter, leaves, death, and sacrifice triggers, infinite red mana, infinite storm, and infinite Gomez tokens with haste. A major strength of the deck is that the game plan from the precon, beating down your opponents with hasted elemental value, is entirely on the table. There remain 32 creatures in the deck list, a deck list that has a high average mana value of 4.27 because it's jammed to the elemental guilds with creatures that make an immediate impact. Where it's improved upon from the precon, outside of the combos, is the streamlined mana base. In the original, supporting all 5 colors, there were 14 tap lands and 3 conditional tap lands. With a fully jund mana base, that's much improved to 5 tap lands and 6 conditional tap lands. As long as you hit your land drops, you'll consistently be able to play out your game plan on curve, instead of losing tempo or even turns worth of plays. In the deck, you'll find that all of the non-creature spells are fully in the black, red, green spectrum, but with Ashling's generic mana evoke ability, there remains 8 white or blue creature spells. And with the mana and ramp options, it is possible to hard cast some of these spells if you want, so keep on the lookout for those opportunities. When all is said and done, this is squarely a bracket 3 deck. It'll put up wins with a fair game plan, but can go over the top with combo potential. Now let's talk through all of the additions, quickly going through the cards I've already talked about before giving a special focus on cards that have not been mentioned yet. And make sure to look in the description where you'll find the deck list from this video. Champion of the Path is our champion and a central piece of the combo plan. Nova Chaser and Supreme Exemplar are awesomely named premium reanimation targets for the burnout game plan and massive beaters. Yargle and Multani, Havoc Eater, and Doomgape fill that same dual role. Rise of the Dark Realm, Living Death, and Behold the Sinister Six get all your combo pieces back on the battlefield or win the game themselves with the value they bring. Aberrant Return, Push Pull, and Command the Dreadhorde are more targeted mass reanimation spells to get your combos going. Faithless Looting and Cathartic Reunion let you discard priority creatures to reanimate, while Unmarked Grave and Buried Alive tutor them to your graveyard. Burnt Offering is a key combo piece and otherwise a solid ritual in this deck full of creatures that will be sacrificing themselves anyway. Heartless Summoning, Catalyst Elemental, and Seething Pathblazer are combo pieces that offer utility beyond that narrow application. Tendrils of Agony is another combo piece that is notably more narrow, but this is bracket 3, we're allowed to have fun here. And finally, Up the Beanstalk and Elemental Bond are included as powerful draw engines. Turns out I talked about most of the spells, but the following gives you the complete picture. Thunderflock, Kindle the Inner Flame, and Eclipsed Realms were additions from my previous budget 646 video that you can check out for more insight into those cards and the Dance of the Elements precon. Shroud Stomper is a thick boy I've included as a certified homer pick. After an evoke and an attack, you're looking at 6 life drained from each opponent, 6 life gained, and 3 drawn cards. That's plenty of advantage tacked onto a 5/5 Death Toucher that's going to deal some bonus damage, or at least take out an additional creature. I also happen to love incidental life gain in decks, and it's rare that a 7 mana spell is a reasonable answer. Hivespine Wolverine is the ultimate utility elemental. It doubles as artifact/enchantment removal and creature removal, which is doubled down on when you evoke it with Ashling. It's also completely castable to cash in one of those modes and offers a solid board presence to keep your life total safe. The final creature is the only non-elemental creature. I wanted to lie at the beginning of the video and call this a full elemental deck, but Honest Retstein kept me honest. This fine sir has 2 abilities and both of them are mint. The first one lets you get back a key creature from your graveyard back to hand. A little recursion for your combo pieces will go a long way. And the second ability is a flat out mana reduction for creature spells that you cast. Evoking does cast the creature spell, so Honest Retstein drops Ashling's ability down to 3 generic mana. Double spelling for a total of 6 instead of 8 mana can literally move your win window up an entire turn. And on the topic of ramp, 2 ramping artifacts have been introduced: Cloud Key and Gathering Stone. Cloud Key's been around the block, but remains enormously helpful when your deck is targeted toward casting a single type of spell. In this case, you'll normally be selecting creatures. There are cases where you'll want to pick sorcery, like when setting up a Rise of the Dark Realms or Elemental Spectacle. So just remember to read the situation of the table and keep yourself off of autopilot. Gathering Stone is the new kid on the block, but this time only of specific creature types. What I like about it generally is the card advantage and that you get the Surveil 1 trigger when it enters, not only at the beginning of your upkeep like a Herald's Horn. Why I like it specifically in this deck is that you want to be digging toward your combo pieces, and the option of putting big elementals in your graveyard is a powerful option to have. The final non-land card is Not Dead After All. This is a small single black investment that can pay off with massive dividends. Cast it on a creature and when it dies, it returns to the battlefield tapped, under your control, and with a Wicked Roll token. There's all sorts of enter value you can get with Avenger of Zendikar or Belonging, but honestly, even keeping a small fry like Flamebraider around will go a long way. If you want a closer look at the mana base, take a look at the deck list in the description. In the meantime, the pip distribution looks like this, again with 5 tap lands and 6 conditional tap lands. In total, this precon overhaul replaced 38 cards for less than $40. $36.30 at the time of recording to be exact. But I want to hear from you. Are you running this commander? Are you running it as a combo commander? What do you think about what I did here, and what direction did you take the deck? Remember to like and subscribe, and hey, check out this video about the other Lorwyn Eclipsed precon, Blight Curse.